What's really cool is that you could basically, like, in maps, build bridges, barges, right? You can, like, we can put all of our
that's right.
boats right next to each other and, like, have, like, a little boat barge party.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, Master of None here. Today Arenanet was back with another livestream, where they showed off one of the main advertised features in End of Dragons, fishing and skiffs. So I just wanted to make this short video recapping what's been said and adding my thoughts to it. First we got to see how the fishing mechanic actually functions. Many of us were curious for what they were going for and if they were going to put the Arenanet spin on it or not. Was it going to be an AFK feature or a full-blown minigame? Something skill-based or more something akin to WoW where you just click twice and be done with it? Well, I have to report it's something in between and also not something that we have never seen before. If any of you have played Stardew Valley, it is basically the Stardew Valley fishing copied over. Now I love Stardew Valley and I really like the fishing there, but there are a couple things I'm worried about by transferring that system over to Guild Wars 2. Same as in Stardew, your fishing rod doesn't actually have any charges. This is already a difference to the other gathering tools Guild Wars currently has. You do, however, have two consumable items, lures and baits, that you can equip and that give you various bonuses to make fishing easier or efficient in some way or another. The way fishing works is, after you equip your fishing rod, you press your first skill to cast the line out. Now you watch the blobber, wait till it moves and press the skill again. So far so good. Now two bars appear. The smaller bar at the bottom shows you the progress on how close you are to catching the fish. The upper bar shows the actual minigame. You basically try to match the outer rectangle to the inner rectangle and keep it there until the fish is caught. Now, what worries me about this system? The first thing may seem arbitrary, but it's how the fishing bar is orientated. In Stardew Valley, the bar doesn't go left to right, but up and down. Additionally, if you don't input anything in that game, your rectangle that you can influence will always sink to the bottom, so to say. This just leads to you generally have to get used to fishing and practice it. Weirdly enough, and this is something I don't like about the Stardew system, fishing in that game starts out really hard and gets so much easier once you level up your fishing skill. There are some fish in the game that will still provide a challenge, but to me, nothing compares to those early levels. Now, I'm not saying fishing needs to be hard or difficult, but I think having a wider range of mechanics to play with makes it generally more interesting. And I do hope that there is enough room with this system that Arenanet has implemented for some rare or legendary fish to actually be difficult to catch. I don't think we can clearly say if this is the case or not with the little amount they showed us today. For fishing to work satisfyingly, however, it is essential that the fishing feels responsive, and this brings me to my second point. Skill 2 and 3 remind me of the skills you get for turning trebuchets or other siege engines in this game. This is probably because they use the same skill icons, but I can't help to think about it and how sluggish those always feel to turn. Watching back the WOD, it does seem a lot more responsive though than trebuchets, which I'm really glad to see. One thing I hope they take over from Stardew Valley is giving different fish different characteristics on how the fish moves around and behaves. This is awesome and it is what makes the minigame so great for me. After you've done it for a while, you can recognize the patterns and be like, oh no, it's another sea bass, I hate trying to catch those. It really helps increase the immersion and makes it feel like the fish have different traits and behavior patterns, like in real life. With fishing comes a new mastery line, which I'll put up on the screen for you to see. Sadly, the mastery line seemed quite uninspired to me. It contains basically what you would expect: faster and more efficient fishing tools. Now, there is potential for some interesting things with the last one called Local Legend, where they could make it so that the fishing merchants sell special bait that you need for certain rare fish or something that changes up the mechanics in a meaningful way somehow. With it being a mastery, I do really hope that you can only level it up by fishing and not unlock the whole thing instantly, making it totally meaningless 3 hours into the expansion like most masteries these days. I do think Guild Wars 2 has this problem where it doesn't really matter what you do or where you do it, everything leads to the same rewards. And this makes a lot of things feel too similar to each other and stops the player from engaging in different kinds of content or going to different places in the world. Personally, I much preferred how Masteries launched back when Heart of Thorns came out. They still kind of felt like the more long-term progression they were supposed to be, but the community obviously didn't like or understand that at all, and they nerfed it heavily shortly after. Ever since then, the Mastery have just kind of been pointless to me, and I would love to see Arenanet reevaluate the system and make a clear decision on where they want to take it. Speaking of rewards, after you catch a fish, you can double click it and you fillet the fish, which you can then use for cooking and maybe other crafting. This does not only add an additional clickable thing to Bag Wars 2, but I think it also allows for fish to drop additional mats like T6 or maybe even a chance for a mystic coin or other valuable items. Also, they will have repeatable collections for you to do, with the first time completion rewarding you more things. They didn't want to talk about it too much more because apparently you get some kind of reward that plays into one of the expansion features. I really like this, since it makes you travel the world. Hand in hand with fishing go the skiffs. First of all, I have to say that skiffs they showed off in the livestream already looked so much better than the skiffs in the little trailer they gave us a while back. The turning still looked a bit iffy to me, but at least the skiffs aren't sliding on ice anymore and are actually submerged in the water. They also rock back and forth a bit when they are not moving, which also helps. Skiffs don't look as polished to me though as the mounts were, but they might still work on it, of course. A skiff has room for 5 players, so a full party, and you get 3 different speeds to cruise around in. One of them unlocking with the new mastery. While cruising around, you won't be able to move your character, except for exiting the skiff or using some emotes, which funnily enough fills up the boost bar for the driver. When a driver drops the anchor, the skiff actually becomes a solid platform for your entire party, and you can now walk around and start fishing. The most interesting part about skiffs to me is the 4th mastery line, Fishing Party, which gives you a buff when you start catching more and more fishes. The most critical thing to me is the fact that Arenanet has to think about how to not make the skiffs obsolete through mounts, and I think this could be a good solution. I hope that this buff is actually significant and incentivizes the player to stay on the skiff. Maybe you should lose the buff immediately as soon as you go on a mount, otherwise you could just hop on your skimmer to get to the next node and be there 3 times faster. This would also further benefit the feeling of going on a fishing trip with friends. I think that's about it regarding fishing and skiffs. Arenanet also dropped an amazing blog post talking about the World vs. World Alliance features. I won't go into it in this video since I've been burned by words like frequent balance patches before, and now I just take the let's wait and see approach to these kinds of things. However, I have to see that there are some great things in there. Arenanet seem to actually understand the core problems of their game, which is amazing to see and is so much more than what we've gotten before. I just love this type of open communication, and it makes me hopeful for the future. If you're interested in it, I'll leave a link down in the description to the blog post. What do you think about the fishing and skiffs? Does it meet your expectations, or are you disappointed? Let me know down below, and I hope to see you in the next one.